My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 115. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Sachi. The electronic duo from New Zealand have just released their first collection of new music for this year, with the Breakfast with Ella EP. In today's episode, we're speaking with Will and Nick about how they originally came together, working with G Flip, and that Diplo incident. Here we go. Our guest today is an electronic music duo from New Zealand. Having amassed millions of streams across their previous releases, Lunch with Bianca and Nights with Ruby, they've just released their brand new EP for 2021, entitled Breakfast with Ella. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Will and Nick from Sachi. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Very good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Where are you joining us from today?
We are joining you from Auckland, New Zealand, at our house in a suburb called Avondale. It's a beautiful evening. The sun has been shining, and it's starting to very much feel like summer, so it's great.
There are summer vibes kind of coming through Australia and New Zealand at the moment, which is, I think everyone's kind of just chomping at the bit that little bit to get back out and do things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the weather does have strangely a profound effect on the general mood. Everybody in Auckland's just kind of starting to get a little, like quite a significantly degree more happier, and kind of it's good. It's lovely.
New Zealand has done relatively well with the pandemic, and not to we're going to get the pandemic talk out of the way and then we'll push it to the side. But I feel like talking about like getting out and getting back to normal and getting back to gigs, New Zealand's done relatively well compared to everywhere else.
Yeah, it had until about 3 months ago where we had like an outbreak of the Delta variant, which is similar to what happened in New South Wales and Melbourne and stuff. So everything's just been like, obviously shows and stuff had been cancelled. But before that, it was all like, for the past 18 months, we were having full-blown festival, 50,000 people festivals, and, life is in, obviously full sports games and all that stuff. So hopefully we'll be returning to that level of normality this summer. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. You guys were lucky enough. I think it was documented in the Take Me Back video, but some of those festival kind of like that just seemed like otherworldly, I think, last year for most people in other countries.
Yeah, it was pretty. I think there was shows going on in New Zealand over the summer that were the only the biggest or only shows going on in like recorded shows going on in the globe at that time. So it was like we kind of, with that video, it was kind of this novelty thing where it was kind of like, oh yeah, look at what's going on here, which is quite bizarre, but at the same, it also was kind of this intended to be kind of like a beacon of hope, and this is what will be coming up in the not so distant future, which is kind of ironic because then the rest of the world kind of came out and now they have shows and festivals again and we're back in lockdown. So
we're going to get there soon. Both Australia and New Zealand, we're going to get back to some form of normality soon. The reason why we're chatting today is not for COVID updates, but for your EP, which is very, very exciting. I know this has kind of been in the works for a while this year.
Yeah, well, we made the majority of it during the last lockdown, like with Take Me Back, who we did with G Flip. That was just purely via the internet, and then we managed to sneak a Australian trip in June during the Trans-Tasman bubble time, and did a bunch of sessions. So that track with Carla Webb is on the record as well. So yeah, it's been. It's kind of been this little thing that we've kind of been able to work around whatever's going around in the world at the moment and kind of put it all together. It's been a very, very weird but rewarding at times experience.
Did you find it all, because this is the third EP for you boys, did you find it all, I guess, the approach of having to do things virtually or like over the internet different from how you guys would usually kind of like produce and make music?
It's not too dissimilar to how we usually work, like, or how we were working before the pandemic. Like, we usually start the songs in the room with either just ourselves or whoever we're like collaborating with, and then we kind of, after that, we take them away, and Will and I workshop them usually separately, and then we kind of flip the files back and forth remotely. So it kind of wasn't too different, but I think what the biggest change in our workflow working during the pandemic was like the song, like the ideas of the songs changed, and like the sentiments and kind of what we wanted to say kind of evolved, where we had written these songs in 2019 and then we kind of rewrote them and workshopped them and kind of remixed them and did all the different iterations that we usually do, but they kind of, the meaning and the lyrical content kind of changed and shifted.
I can imagine that some of the content might not have felt as maybe pertinent, or like maybe it might have just kind of been a totally different vibe, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
How much did you find you were still able to kind of like use or repurpose in a way that didn't kind of just simply put all your hard work to no use?
I mean, a lot of those songs we'd, as Nick said, written pre-pandemic. So yeah, I guess, you know, a lot of our music, we kind of leave it up to the audience to be interpreted and how we, and however they want to, and fit it in their life and how they please. So yeah, there was still a lot of that, but the songs kind of all took on different meanings. And also we were making, you know, it's dance music, which is like a genre of music that is only really digested in a large crowd of people, which was the most foreign concept during that period. It was a bit funny making it at that time, where, you know, probably more meditation music or something like that would have been more suited. But anyway, still made it, and it's been a pleasure to have had played it at shows over the past few months, and to been playing it in many shows going forward.
Of course, it is exciting. As you mentioned, it is the third EP. It is titled Breakfast with Ella, which is the third in a series of, I'm just wanting to make sure I get these right, Nights with Ruby and Lunch with Bianca.
Yeah, but swapped around. Lunch with Bianca was first, and Nights with Ruby, yeah.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how many more meals and people are we expecting in the discography of the band?
This is what we've been saying. This is like the kind of the final chapter of this trilogy of EPs. So it's kind of this journey that started when we were probably 17. I think we were probably about 17 or 18 when we first put out Lunch with Bianca. So and then it was been kind of like a concept that suited like the music that we've been making and the way we've been making it so poignantly. It was like, let's just continue it on. And there won't be there's no brunch with
Sarah.
Jessica or Sarah. This is the last.
I can understand wanting to keep it to a trilogy, but I am slightly disappointed that we might miss out on future
maybe
as you said.
We might just do like in a couple of years time, we'll do a something or something else just to throw a spanner in the works.
Maybe like a B-sides afternoon tea with Mary Ann or something like that.
Yeah.
When I kind of want to chat about the origins of the band and how you guys actually got together in making music with one another.
Yeah. We were playing in bands when we were at primary school. I haven't thought about primary school in a long time. But yeah, we were playing in bands at primary school, playing Green Day covers, and we were kind of really into that punk and rock sort of scene. And then as we went through school, two of the other band members we were in the band with kind of shifted off and started doing their own things and went to different schools. One of them moved overseas. So we were like, well, we want to keep playing music together, but we don't know how to exactly do it without the two band members. So then we discovered, DJing and Ableton and producing music and stuff. And then, we kind of honed the craft a bit, just basically all through YouTube tutorials and talking to friends and stuff, and essentially taught ourselves how to produce music. And then, it got to the point where we were, we put together an EP and, found our manager, Dan, who we still work with today. And that was like 6 years ago now. And then started my brother was working on a radio station called George FM, which is kind of like our Triple J, pretty much like, has like a very good foundation for like grassroots sort of musicians and stuff like that. So he kind of played some of our songs and played it to the staff and stuff. And then we ended up getting playlisted and then, playing shows. And it's been a very snowball type progression. Like we haven't had like a breakout song or anything that's like exploded. It's just all been like a very gradual progression, which has been nice.
I did hear a story that I was hoping you guys might be able to verify for me, and even I'm guessing you might be able to tell which story it is only by the look you gave me. The Diplo story. Yeah,
we were following him on Snapchat. He was here for a festival in 2015 or 16 or something like that, and we found out where he was having dinner. He was like having dinner at a restaurant kind of by where we were living at the time. And we saw on Snapchat where he was. We ended up just waiting outside the restaurant with a USB of our music, and he kind of pulls out in this, black entourage of SUVs, and we banged on the window, threw the USB in, and then about probably 3 months later, or even longer, 6 months later, we got the BBC Twitter bot tag being like Diplo and friends, Sachi. I think he played a song called No More. And then he played another song of ours, Hold On, a bit later. So crazy. Yeah.
Whose idea was the USB stick?
It was just something we were doing.
Idea. Yeah, it was like 2016 or something, 2017. Oh yeah, but it was we would go around and kind of, if we were going to shows, we would take a USB of music, because a lot of it was like DJs who they find their music, they store their music for their sets on USB. So we're like, or maybe we had perhaps read it in an interview or somebody saying, I found this music because somebody gave it to me on a USB or something. I can't remember exactly, but we were kind of just hanging around the streets anyway. So we just put a USB in our pocket and with some music on it, and in the hopes that we would give it to somebody and they would listen to it.
I just love that story. I think it's a very ballsy, kind of gutsy move, but I love that you guys just let's do it, and it obviously paid off. Yeah,
well, we gave one to Steve Aoki and Skrillex and Post Malone. There's a few others, and then obviously nothing ever happened. But 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 hit rate's not actually that bad.
Not at all. And also, you don't know that they've still got those USBs. As you said, it was 6 months for Diplo. Maybe Posty's just holding on to that for a special occasion.
Yeah. Maybe. Fingers crossed.
The original start in bands, covering, as you said, some more punk orientated music, do you think that element is maybe why I've seen footage of the band where you guys you do incorporate both live instruments and the electronic? Is that why you've brought in the live instruments, to keep that kind of I don't want to say balance, but it's an additional element on top of the other bits?
Yeah, I'd say that, having that experience of playing in those bands growing up definitely gave us that confidence to be be able to to put together what the Sachi live show is. But I don't know if it was the catalyst. I think the catalyst was kind of like we were interested in kind of creating a whole show around the music that wasn't just a DJ set. Like we kind of wanted to just beat our music and covers or remixes or self remixes, and then we wanted to think about the lights and the visuals and I think we were probably at that time looking up to like the electronic acts that we love and that we had seen live that perform closer to a band than a DJ. So I think it was a combination of all those things. We kind of just wanted to. It was also just like a point of difference thing. Like we recognized that we wanted to stand out and do something that wasn't really being done in our local scene, and so we kind of just set off on the journey, and it's kind of been a long and incredibly fulfilling and also incredibly time-consuming thing. Like the last set, like we kind of change it up every release cycle, but the last one we did, like we almost spent as much time in the studio working on the show as we did for like the actual like the EP itself. So it's like it's this very considered, concise thing that is like it's really, really fun to put together. And if we were just DJing, it would still be fun, but it's not really what the Sachi live experience what we want it to be.
Yeah, of course. Do you guys enjoy the other aspects of?
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
I guess being in a band and having to kind of come up with all these other different bits that aren't the music. Like I know you said looking at your stage show, looking at how you want it to run. I think Nick, it was the Down on My Luck video that you directed as well. Like how do you find having those other aspects and having control over those?
It's like, yeah, I think we both love different aspects of the band, and we're pretty privileged to be able to look up, partake in so many different facets of it. Like there's obviously some things that are more enjoyable than others, but we've always kind of been very hands-on with like all the visuals, and we've always talked about like ideas and concepts wider than just the songs themselves. So it's kind of a very natural thing, but it's the video was kind of just like also just we had directed videos in the past. Like we worked with a director called Taylor Mansfield, who's amazing, and a director called Connor Pritchard, who's amazing. But we kind of had this idea, and we were just like, oh, I think we can just do this ourselves. I was keen to take it on, and just from almost like a point of experience, for them to be able to articulate my ideas in that medium, more precisely as well. And also it was just like one of our best friends produced it. And, one of our good friends was like one of the leads. So it was just this very kind of family, tight-knit thing, which was an absolute joy to be involved in.
Yeah, of course. The live show of the band, I know at the moment, like, there's not as many kind of going on, but as we've discussed, it's in the pipeline. I think you guys have another gig in New Zealand in March of next year. Can we expect any kind of tour, both New Zealand and Australia, for in support of the new EP?
Yeah, so we're planning on doing Australia sort of Q1 next year. I think that's, it must be like February or something. I think that's the loose plan, and then we'll be doing New Zealand as well. So yeah, I think we're going to. I'm saying I think, but we are, but not specific dates yet. But we'll be in probably Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney. Unfortunately, no Adelaide on this run.
We're used to that in the loveliest way. We kind of get used to that. Yeah. No, but we love it in Australia. We've both got a lot of family in Australia, and lots of friends, and we've been going to Australia for a few years and hanging out, and we're very much honorary Australians. Apart from we don't support the Wallabies, and we love it over there. I can respect that. Look, I'm not going to challenge that at all.
Yeah.
As you mentioned before, you wrote Take Me Back with G Flip earlier in the year, who is one of Australia's most well-known pop singers and drummers. How did that friendship kind of come about, or how did that working relationship come about?
I can't remember.
We met through one of our friends, Geneva, who we had worked with in Melbourne, done a bunch of writing with in Melbourne, I think introduced us when we were living in LA, and we all kind of just hung out, and I think that was where the connection came from, or maybe. And then we've played a couple of festivals over you guys over the ditch as well with Flippo. So and then we've just stayed in touch online. Really, I feel like we've just been friends.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things.
How it started.
Yeah, one of those situations where you literally can't think of how you met. But no, I ended up we had this song that we'd written in America with another vocalist, and it was only we only really liked one part of it. But like, take me back, and then we sent it over to G Flip, and she kind of came back with like the more formed out version, which was kind of what it's like on the record. And then we just went back and forth on it, and then we worked with Montel 299, who's like an amazing DJ producer from here, on that record too, and he kind of just added little bits and bobs to it, and now it's out there in the world.
It is an incredible track, as we've touched on. One thing you guys have mentioned, which I want to touch on as well, is that you did spend some time in Los Angeles. I think you lived there for about 6 to 8 months or so when you were touring and writing. How was that experience compared to, obviously, New Zealand and LA? Very, very different kind of places.
There's this thing in LA called, like, it's just like the speed dating session culture, where every day there's this probably like literally thousands of sessions happening every day, because there's a million, like, all the publishers, all the writers, all the singers, all the artists, all the whatever producers are all in LA, and there's this kind of like this kind of buzz of just everyone's working on music the whole time, and there's all these like famous studios and stuff. So it's very exciting being a part of all that sort of thing. But coincidentally, I will add to that we spend a lot of time hanging out with Australians and Kiwis over there, which I feel like is a thing that a lot of Aussies and Kiwis do when they're overseas, is like, if you're in Europe and you happen to, there's some other Kiwi or an Aussie that you happen to know that's in the same town as you, you'll be like, oh, let's go hang out with that person, because we know them and we know that, like, they're going to get our jokes and stuff like that. So, it's funny like that, but it was awesome. LA is LA, so it's a very wild place. But yeah, good times.
I did enjoy the video. I'm trying to remember what you're promoting, but the video of going around Hollywood and I guess what is it called? The
like Vox Pops.
Vox Pops, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite was the woman you asked whether she'd come see the show, and she said, yes, but I have a prior engagement on the 5th.
I have a prior commitment on the 9th.
Yes.
I think we said, I think the actual question was, do you want to come to our show in a month it was like a very vague thing, and she was like, I have a prior commitment on that day, like we didn't even give her a specific day. And then I was like, oh, this woman does not like us one bit. But yeah, we're gonna do more of those Vox Pops things. We did one in New York, we did one in LA, we also did one at Armageddon, which is like a kind of Comic-Con. What's that like? What's that sort of?
Yeah, it's like an expo. It's like
expo.
New Zealand Comic-Con.
Yeah, we've been thinking about going to one of like the big anti-vax protests, but I think we could be getting on the side of like this could get dangerous for us if we got caught up.
We want you guys to be safe while you're doing it.
Yeah. We'd wear hazmat suits probably.
Yeah.
Do you, because the Vox Pops these days kind of is closely to like social media stuff. Do you enjoy, obviously there's an element of interacting with your fans, but is like TikTok and Instagram something that you guys kind of enjoy and coming up with ideas to be able to engage with your fans?
Yeah, before we even got into music, we were making videos, like we were making skits, and like that's kind of how I think that we picked up producing quite easily, is that we already kind of understood like how to cut together stuff on Premiere Pro, which is kind of like a similar thing to Ableton, like in terms of like a timeline and you're organizing things. So yeah, I kind of feel like through that we've always kind of had this thing that's like we love making skits, and we like kind of like not taking ourselves too seriously and making people laugh and stuff like that. So, and like TikTok's been like a platform that is where that sort of behavior is encouraged. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun over there. But
yeah, also just like we're both like massive fans of like Sacha Baron Cohen and kind of the Monty Python stuff, and it comes from a place of like I don't know. I feel like the TikTok is a platform where you're not often like those Vox Pops videos that we put together, like, you know, they're a bit more long form and there's a bit more like kind of idea to them and kind of purpose to them. But the TikTok stuff's a bit more, it's a lot like short form, and it's just crazy to see which videos do the best. Like, sometimes they're just the most bizarre things, and sometimes they're really great. But this seems to be, maybe I'm just not part of that generation, or just haven't spent enough time in it. But I do love coming up with those ideas and kind of putting them together as the more long form pieces, rather than just being like, let's like put together something that's going to be 30 seconds and like will like evaporate.
I think more long form videos are kind of enjoyable. I think it's more these days society, I guess, is a general.
The attention spans are dwindling.
Yeah.
It's something that we can't really deny or avoid.
No, we have to kind of just play into it. Will and Nick, usually we would ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there was any record or any album or single at the moment that they're currently enjoying. Is there anything that is, kind of piqued both your fancies?
Man, I've been listening to this, I think she's Swedish, this girl called ML Bush, who put out this album. Her most recent album, I can't remember what it's called. There's a song called Sap on it that I've been loving. The album is called Skinned, that's what I've been listening to.
Let me have a look. Get onto the Spotify on repeat. The new Rufus album, New Flight. I love Pink Pantheress as well. I think she's great. Sam Gallatry is doing amazing stuff. And then just like, bunch of stuff. I'm always kind of like, I kind of have this bad habit of listening to like on repeat is like a Spotify playlist that it makes for the songs that are on repeat. But like once you start listening to on repeat, like recreationally, you kind of just get trapped in this like on repeat thing. So you have to like physically, like, you have to force another song in there by like just playing it like 5 times in a row, and then it will put it in the on repeat playlist. But sometimes I'll just listen to the on repeat playlist, and it'll just be, I can almost like guess the order of songs. Yeah.
Kind of like foreshadow what's going to come up next.
Yeah.
Do you guys prefer like when you're discovering music, not as a band, but as a music lover, I guess, do you prefer the algorithm, or do you like to kind of go out there and do a bit of searching on your own?
Yeah, I do listen to my Discover Weekly sometimes just to see like what it throws at me, but I always feel like, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how I find music nowadays.
Yeah, I find the stuff of late that I've been like connecting to and getting a lot from has been things that I've found. Either my friend, like I've been working with a friend on his record, and he's been showing me a lot of music. But then also just like music from soundtrack. Like I love soundtrack music. Like a lot of my favorite albums are soundtrack albums that I've found obviously through the films or through the television shows, or I don't know. But this last lockdown especially, I've been like, yeah, like to Will's point, like not knowing where, not knowing what that source is, just trying to diversify my sources, like every day, like do a bit of a hunt and go down a YouTube rabbit hole, or listen through to a compilation album, or listen to a DJ mix or a radio show, or whatever it might be, or go on a blog. It's whereas sometimes it's like I get a bit complacent, not really seeking these like new music out, but which then I find I tend to get in like kind of cyclical writing patterns as well, where I'm like just making the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I think it's important to be looking for new things the whole time, and I think it's, especially as an artist and trying to be an artist that's making kind of boundary pushing, for lack of a better term, work.
Will and Nick, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Congratulations on Breakfast with Ella, and we look forward to seeing you not here in Adelaide but in Australia in Feb.
One day in Adelaide.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Will and Nick for their time. Breakfast with Ella is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to stream the EP or buy tickets to their tour. We also want to give a huge shout out to Katie at Positive Feedback for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our guests' picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.